I'm JV. At 20, I pressed pause on uni to chase two dreams: backpacking the world alone and completing one of the toughest endurance races in the world, an Ironman. I wanted to discover if there was more to life than the path simply laid out in front of me. So welcome to my 8-part series of one of the best years of my life. The Ironman is something I always saw as a kid. I remember Googling what is an Ironman, and it came up as a 3.8k swim, 180km cycle, and a 42.2km run, all in one day. And I thought to myself, wow, that is not humanly possible. I never thought though at 20 years old I'll be doing an Ironman. But it started with a crazy dream. It started off in 2021 when I did my first half Ironman with Josh Cunningham. And from then on, we met these groups of boys, the Porterhouse Boys. It's a group of mates that are crazy enough to do these wicked events, a group that was so supportive, a group that was so welcoming, so inviting. That's what the Porterhouse was. And Limo, he had this idea to do an Ironman, one of the hardest endurance races in the world. So all summer, we had spent it training together with 10 other boys: Juzzy, Larker, Vinny, Fold, Limo, Josh Cunningham, Gibbsy, Flemmer, Gutter. These were some of the most fun moments in my life. Memories that I didn't even know at the time. On the weekends, if I had work, I would take them off for moments like these, because these moments, they could never be replaced. Riding and spending your whole day out with your mates, 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. We went on training camps from St. Arnaud, morning walk, to Max Cove. That's crazy. To Great Ocean Road. Amazing it is. We would choose a random number generator to decide the postcode where we would stay at for a few days. God bless you, boys. The last training camp. When you set the goal of doing an Ironman, what you don't realise is the lifestyle you live because of it. And with this lifestyle, it becomes immensely difficult to be able to live a normal life. You often see the end result, the race, but the process to get there is extremely brutal. Training for the Ironman had to become life. Regular weeks of training for me leading up to the Ironman consisted of 4 gym sessions a week, 3 swim sessions a week, where Monday nights were with the crew, 2 runs a week, track Tuesday, and a 25 to 30km long run. 2 rides a week, an indoor trainer ride and a long ride on Sundays ranging from 150 to 180 Ks. And 1 brick session on Thursdays, which was a 100k ride to a 10k run straight after. I'm in Ironman prep, and I'm in the build phase of an Ironman, meaning this is where my training volume rises significantly. You don't really understand the struggle and just how taxing it is both on your body as well as your mental mind, because every single training session you're thinking about your next one or the meals that you got to cook. You're just always thinking about this, and on top of balancing everything else in life, it becomes very tough. Can't I just be on the couch living the normal freaking life? But here I am spending my weekends, spending the whole day, 6 hours, 7 hours, just going on a bike ride. There's moments in training where you just don't want to do it, but you do it anyways. Moments where you wish you could live a normal life, be able to stay up later, be able to sleep in more, be able to spend your weekends not actually having to run 30Ks and riding 150Ks a day after. You sacrifice your social life outside of training, and you spend over 20 hours of your week just training. You live so far from the normal reality in terms of priorities. Whenever I did make time to socialise outside of training, I really cherished that time. It was a sense of normality I rarely got to experience. It's so rare in life that you have something that completely consumes you. You live so unbalanced in order to achieve this goal. It's often times in life when you want to achieve an incredible goal, it requires you to live unbalanced for a little while until that certain goal is achieved. But when you go through this process, you learn so much about your inner personal self. And at a time period where I was really questioning myself why I was doing this, I had a chat with a guy named Deegsy. Deegsy had done Ironmans in the past at that top level, and it was in a conversation I had with him that I'll never forget. Deegsy had taught me so much. He was my mentor, not just for the Ironman, but about life. He told me that life was a timeline, the day you're born until the day you die. And in the grand scheme of things, the Ironman and training takes up such a small component of your timeline. However, in this small chapter, he told me to soak up every single lesson I learned, because these lessons, they're only experienced through that pain. They're only experienced through that doubt, through that sacrifice. Deegsy explained how the Ironman was a representation of life, because life is made up of these small practices. What you see is the big picture, the big practice. What you don't see are the small practices. And it's in these moments where you build the foundation of who you truly are. Training with these small practices, and these small practices not only carried over to Ironman, but every single other part of life. Self-confidence, stepping stones for other goals in life, discipline, mental health, social skills, academics, mindfulness, gratitude. And it was through using training as a catalyst to all these other parts of life. The Ironman was less about the Ironman itself, but the person I got to be because of it. So for the next 2 months of my life, I developed a new saying. And every single moment of my life for the next 2 months, I could only think of one thing.
Until Port Mac.
7 days out from Ironman, boy.
3 days until Port Mac, baby.
The Ironman.
Yeah.
Oh, well. My guy, what a G. Oh,
Swoop squad, boys.
beast off. This week was so magical. I'll never forget the feeling I had during this week. I remember feeling so present. And it was the accumulation of months of our lives dedicated towards this one moment. All I felt in this week was this shared experience we got to live out together, and how much of a bond we all grew through this whole experience. And it was in this week when a chapter would come to an end.
Hashtag White Girl Tuesday. White Girl Tuesday.
It was all of these small moments of training and these memories at the time that make you really appreciate life and how beautiful it truly is. I felt so content living life to the fullest, training for the Ironman with the boys. There was so much adventure and so much pure, authentic moments spent with these boys. It was the accumulation of all these times dedicated to make this one vision become a reality. So Josh and I, we began our drive and we would meet at Port Mac, where the Ironman was. And this week was so truly special. Maxie did his first marathon distance run. Gibbsy coming down to support despite his injuries. Billy coming down from the Sunshine State, which we only get to see him once or twice a year. And all these Porterhouse Boys doing a last Tuesday group run before setting us off to Port Mac. And before we knew it, the morning had arrived.
Morning, brekkie boy. Day of the race.
And it was in this morning, I didn't even say a word. And just before the race had started, I saw my dad, and he'd shaken my hand. My parents, they never really came down to my events, but they had come down to this one, driving 16 hours to watch me. It's so rare in life, we dedicate ourselves into something where we get to see it truly unfold like an art, and that's such a beautiful thing. And as I stood there waiting on the start line, I tapped my friend Finney and said my first words of the day. It's not going to be the same on the other side.
Oh, go Fitzka! Go boys! Well done, Juddo! Go Joshy, keep it going mate, looking really good. Go big boy! Go Joshy! Power up Will, power up! Juddo!
Well done son.
When I'd crossed the finish line, it was never the same, because for my whole life I had never been fit. Always picked last in sporting events at school. I would always doubt myself. It was my biggest insecurity, so I never believed in myself, and in turn that had lowered my confidence completely. And it was when I saw the red carpet and I saw the finish line, my eyes had suddenly flashed before me. It reminded myself of when I was a kid and how quickly life had flashed between my eyes. This was the first time I felt like a true winner in life.
This was one of the most purest moments in my life because I finally proved to myself I was capable. I was capable of something I never believed myself that I was good at. And when you go and do something you thought was impossible, it changes you completely. Suddenly, things don't seem as hard as they once were. Things don't seem so far-fetched, so extreme. You just work at things slowly by slowly, not just in fitness, but in every other aspect in life. There is so much more to who you are that sits below the surface. It's when you do things like this that you realise you are so much more to what you label yourself as.
Can't believe I did that.
So, as the chapter came to an end, as we all left back home from Port Mac, this one chapter in my life will be something so special.
Oh, God bless world.
And something I always look back upon, especially with the people at the time I got to surround myself with.
I'm all good and I've thought about it. I want to do it.
Once the Ironman was over,